didn't have the basics, I failed first and second grade, 2 grades in a row. And eventually I, through tutors and everything else, I got back to where I could, I went through school. And I was going to quit when I was 16 years old. And everyone in my family, my father had 3 brothers. None of them graduated from high school. And my mother said to me, she said, I don't care what you do with the rest of your life, but the one thing that you have to promise me is that you will graduate from high school. She said, that's the only thing I'm going to ask of you. So I said, okay. So I graduated from high school. I went to work in Foster Wheeler. I worked in a foundry, and I went on until the point that I was drafted in the service. I got drafted in the service, and I was very bitter. I was very bitter because at this time, you know, I thought I had a chance at Foster Wheeler and working my way up at Foster Wheeler. All of a sudden, that was taken away from me. So I went into the service, and I was very bitter. And there was a sergeant that come up, and and he said to me, you know, there was a bunch of these guys out here that were messing around. They were in the stockade, and I was laughing at them. And he said, you think that's funny? He said, when they finish their time for what they've done, they go back and they're going to start all over again. And I was sitting thinking about this. And I come up with the idea that the only way that you're going to get along here is beat them at their own game. And that's when I said, okay, they were looking for people at Fort Knox, Kentucky to go into a drill team. And so, okay, I'm volunteering. I'm going to the drill team. I get in there and I really got into it. And so when I left basic training in Fort Knox, I went for the second half of my basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I got down there, I got in a color team. When I completed my training down there, I got my orders, and it said that I'm going to Fort Myer, Virginia. And so I went to the company commander at the time, and I said, where is Fort Myer? And he looked at me with a smirk on his face, and he said, welcome to the old guard. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, this is the Army's elite corps. And I said, what am I doing there, you know? And he said, you're going there. So I went there, and there are 3,000 men, as I told you, and there are 3,000 men in the old guard. But what I didn't realize is that the company commander of Honor Guard Company has his choice out of all of the recruits that come into the old guard. He has his choice. So when the bus pulls up, you get out, and here's the company commander of Honor Guard Company. And he's sitting out there, and they bring you out and stand in the field, and he said, I want you to do a manual of arms. I want you to march over here to me. I want you to do an about face. And everyone that gets off the bus has to do that. And he'll say, points out, they took 2 of us out of the whole works. And they said, you're going into honor guard company. What's that? So I get up there and I walk in, and here is this room. All the walls are covered with mirrors, floor to ceiling, and mirrors. And in front of all those mirrors is guys standing in their undershorts with a hat on, doing manuals in front of those mirrors. And they went over and over. They do facing movements, manuals, in front of these mirrors.
You want to tell us about it? Tell the story.
Well, it's called Breaking Free. Okay, and we did it when they did all the setup with the women's convention, and so I did that thing, and we got it so that it was facing the chapel over here. See, and.
You want to walk over and stand by it and explain what?
Well, not much to explain, but
well, no, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's held up pretty good over the years.
Were you commissioned to do this?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
The woman that owned the gallery, she kept at me, and then I don't know if you're interested when we get back. It caused all kinds of controversy in town, and
Why?
there was well, one of the people that was on the board lived right over there, and she and I were taught together, and we didn't get along that well.
Yeah.
And so she went after it, and as a result, it got all kinds of coverage in the newspaper. I'll have to show you that stuff until yeah, God, it's stood there for a long time now.
And what does it symbolize?
Well, the women's right, the chains, breaking free from, women's, the women's movement.
Right.
And I did the chain and, the whole bit with to symbolize breaking free.
Yeah.
And, you can't see that very well, but the metal that is standing on, we did the shape of the United States here.
Oh, yeah.
And tried to get 1 foot in upstate New York facing the cathedral over there. And, or not cathedral, the chapel. And, these guys standing there in their undershorts with a hat on, doing manuals and facing movements. And of course, that's when I got into that.
What's a manual?
Okay, a manual is that I have the rifle on my right shoulder here. I move this rifle over here to my left shoulder. Okay, and it's done in a very precise manner. You're standing here, the rifle butt is down here, the fingers have to be placed just right on the rifle butt, and you pull the rifle off, you turn it here, this shoulder. Other way, this side, you come up, you grab the butt, here, on this shoulder. Okay, one shoulder, the other shoulder. Then you take the rifle and you come, bring it to the floor. Okay, now you go at parade rest. Now you come to attention. Now you mount the rifle. You do the facing movement over and over and over again. Over and over again. You do facing movements. Right face, left face. All of these movements, and you just continually do that. Now, Honor Guard Company is not the Tomb Guard. Even though the Tomb Guard is part of Honor Guard Company, Honor Guard Company is made up of casket bearers, firing party, and drill team. Also, the Tomb Guard. Now, this has changed, but I'll tell you what it was for me, okay? At that time, when you were training to go to tomb...
And this is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Right. Yeah, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you were training to go out there, and you were picked to train, you had to go out to what was called Post 1. In Post 1, they had a sentry box out there. They went through formal guard changes and everything. And this was in front of the Chief of Staff of the Army's quarters. And what you had to do is every 5 minutes, you had a path around there that you had to take around that building back to the sentry box. And this was all formal. I mean, you had to do this in a precise manner. Then what they would do is they would take you out to Arlington at night after the cemetery was closed. And you would go through training at the tomb. And they would go over and over and over it. This was a very famous picture. This is a guard that on the third relief, which is called the third relief, his name is Seawright. And this one made all kinds of, because of snow on his hat.
Oh, sure.
And everything else, that made on the cover of all the papers and everything else.
And what era would this have been?
Oh, that's when I was walking there. And I got out in 1960.
Oh, right, okay.
That's me in front of the tomb.
It's a good one, it's black and white.
Because of the old guard, this was a Miss America pageant.
Oh.
This is Marianne Mobley, I believe, isn't it? The Miss America
Yes,
pageant.
Marianne Mobley, yes.
Okay, I was an escort for the Miss America pageant. I was the escort
That's
for...
how good looking he was.
Huh?
I'm telling you.
I was the escort for Miss Washington, D.C. at Miss America pageant.
That's neat.
This is Steve Lawrence, and he was made the vocalist for the 3rd Infantry.
Wow.
They wanted to get Elvis Presley to do this, and he declined. So they got Steve Lawrence to do it, and that was him.
Pop singer Steve Lawrence joins Army Band for 21-month tour. Steve Lawrence.
Elvis Presley had turned it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Elvis Presley and I were both drafted on the same day,
Okay.
and we are both the same age. We're the same age, and we both went to armored centers. I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky, which is an armored center. He went for Fort Hood, Texas. But we both went to armored centers. But we were both the same age. We were both drafted on the same day, and
That's so
not that it's
yeah, but still,
interesting, but
it's a piece of history, though. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I like that he declined to be the singer.
yeah, he declined. One thing, he declined every kind of privilege that was offered him in the military. He went in
Okay.
as an enlisted man,
Okay.
and he went in as a private like anybody else. He went through the whole thing, which, you know, was very commendable.
It was, and what you were saying that he declined it, I thought it was because he wasn't being paid or he didn't want, it wasn't a big enough deal.
He didn't
He
want
wanted-
to anything that he considered a special privilege.
Right.
He turned down.
That's terrific. That's very interesting. Very interesting.
But I thought that was interesting.
Good
but,
stuff. That's good stuff.
They took the relief sergeants from all the three reliefs went out when you were practicing, when you were on post one now, and you're just going out and you're practicing and you're walking at the tomb back and forth, and they would watch you and they would be critical. They would say, okay, you got to do this or you got to do that. So you would try that, and they would give you, I don't know what the number, they would only give you like 3-4 chances to shape up. If they didn't like it, you were done. They sent you back to company. You were done. So you went out there, and if you went through all this, then you were eligible to go out and train for the tomb. Then you went down there, and now you go through all the paperwork of learning about the cemetery. You learn how to put this uniform in perfect condition. You learn them, all of the military, or all the movements, and all these things are critical. Any one of those could fail you. When you got to the uniform type of inspection, which they went down through and they checked you, you had to stand at attention. They went over your uniform as you stood at attention, and you had 3 chances to do it. If you can't do it in 3 chances, you're done. Then you go through the manual, everything else. Then they put you out on the mat during the hours, and when the cemetery opens at 7 in the morning until 8, walking during those hours. You're actually walking duty hours now, even though there isn't hardly anybody there. Then they make an evaluation of whether you're going to be a tomb guard now. Mm-hmm. I'm overdoing this tomb guard thing. Okay, I walked at the tomb as a guide for 19 months. At the time I got out, that was the longest that anybody had ever walked the tomb. That's no longer true. My son, Phil, walked 23 months out at the tomb. So, that I no longer held that record. That's how I was considered for the old guard. Mm-hmm. And once you get there, then there are 3,000 men in the old guard. Okay, but there are only 12 that walk that map. And, you know, every one of those 3,000 that's where they want to be.
Yeah.
Is a guard at the tomb. So the competition is rough. And they put you through the mill. And we always said that their main objective was to see if they could kill you. Because they would put you through hell.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and then it was after you did the guard that you went to back to school.
I went after I was there. Then we got married. March and I got married, and then I went to Oswego. Got my bachelor's degree at Oswego, and then I went to Columbia. Got my master's degree at Columbia. But that was all after I was at the tomb.
And what was your bachelor's in?
It was. I have two majors: industrial arts and art.
And the same for the master's?
Yeah. Well, for the master's, that was for art, because industrial arts is the State University in New York at Oswego. That's. This is when Phil got his badge.
Right.
This is a newspaper. Like father, like son. Yeah. My picture, the badge, Phil and Danielle. This you're probably familiar with.
Sure, but
Yeah, okay.
That's Phil
Can hold it up a little
on
bit.
the front of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's Phil. Yeah, nice.
That's Phil changing the guard. That was a newspaper article that was done on me
Yeah.
when I became a guard
Put it up there. And
at the tomb.
Still.
That was when it was done to me.
Now, did Phil always want to follow in your footsteps?
No,
No?
we were shocked when he did.
This is one of me that they took with the kids saluting me at the end of the
That's
map.
awesome.
This is my relief when I was walking into the tomb.
Oh yeah.
But what's most interesting about this is this guy right here. I was best man in his wedding. Okay.
Okay.
This is McCarley.
What was his name?
McCarley.
Okay.
And he became the general manager for the Power and Light Authority for the city of Los Angeles.
Wow.
And right here is Meredith Smith, and he did the television. What was the name of that? The program on television that he did with his wife.
Oh, yeah. They went.
The Great Adventure or something,
like that.
where they traveled around, and he was the oldest to do that.
Yeah.
And that's Meredith Smith, and he was a lobbyist. And John Butchko was another one, and that's me, of course, here. But
And
Yeah.
what's the guy next to you?
this is John Butchko,
Okay.
Meredith Smith,
Okay.
and Bill McCarley.
Got it. Okay.
That's me. This is me
Yeah, these are
at
good.
the tomb. That's me and TWs, which they don't use anymore.
What's that? The gun?
No, the uniform.
Oh, sorry.
Because it gave them all kinds of problems. We used to perspire, and you get
yeah.
dark marks under your arm.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, any place where you sweat.
Sure. I remember you guys talking about that at the
Who
event we
is
had at the film.
him? You may know. You don't.
No.
It's John Kerry. His name was.
Oh, jeez.
From he was. He's Congressional Medal of Honor winner.
Oh.
And this was one of our reunions, and he had his picture taken with us. Me, of course.
Yeah, neat.
And but that was him there.
Wow, neat.
And up here is Phil putting his name on the badge board.
Yeah.
And up here is me pointing to my name and him pointing his name on the board.
That's great. That's your
Oh,
certificate.
committee on the, yeah.
But why is it dated 2000?
Because I was one of the original badge holders.
Right,
Okay, so I didn't have a number.
right.
So they awarded the badge to me in that year.
And what was your number?
And I don't have a
Oh,
number.
you still didn't get a number.
No,
Oh.
I'm one of the original 15.
That's
On a different board.
okay. Which we saw
Yeah.
Yeah,
at the tomb. Okay, I remember.
okay. What else have we got? Yeah, it's a lot of the same stuff. These are pictures of Phil.
Yeah, Phil walking.
Okay, that's overhead.
This one's good.
That's one of Phil.
So what year would this have been?
Marsh, when is
80s,
Phil at
90s?
tomb?
Phil was 30 something, so it would have been 2000.
It's awful, I can't remember.
2001, 2002. He was married in 2002.
Right, okay.
So it was after that,
Okay.
2005 maybe.
That's
Okay.
him coming off
Yeah,
at the tomb.
it's just as good as you with this sword. Oh,
That's Phil being posted.
yeah. Is that the inspection where the guy
in
looks
the inspection.
at? Yeah,
Right. That's Phil there.
got it.
And,
Yeah, it's great pictures.
but a lot of them you can, that's Phil coming up out of the quarters to change the guard. But, and then I got out of the service. When I got out of the service, I went back to Foster Wheeler for a while. And then
What was Foster Wheeler?
Foster Wheeler Corporation was a plant that manufactured steam turbine generators for the Navy. In fact, when I was there, I worked on the header that was used in the steam turbine generator that was on the Nautilus, the first nuclear submarine. And luckily, because it's now a museum in Groton, I was able to go on it and go down through in the submarine that I worked on the generator on that. So anyway, that's what Foster Wheeler did, and it was all heavily Navy inspected. I went to Foster Wheeler, and then I took an apprentice job as a screw machine operator in Rochester, operating Davenport automatic screw machines. And I got through the apprentice program, and that's when Marge and I got married. And then she, we had mentioned before, John Forsythe and Anita Baird, we stood up for them at the wedding, and he was an industrial arts teacher in Wayland. And he got together with Marge, and they decided that I ought to go to college, to Oswego. And I said, are you crazy? I'm lucky I ever got out of high school. And so Marge said to me, she said, go over to Hornell, where you graduated, and get in touch with the guidance counselor there and ask her what you should do. So I went over, and the guidance counselor went through my record and everything else, and she said to me, she said, you can forget it, Oswego will never accept you. So I come back, and I told Marge this. And Marge said, forget it. She gets on the phone, she calls Oswego. She wants to talk to the Dean of Admissions. So she gets her on her name was Dorothy Ma. And she talked to her, and she said, "You come on up, I want to talk to him." So we went up to Oswego, and I went in, and she said, "What's the situation here?" And I told her what it was. And she said, "Forget it." She said, "We're going to take you in. If you can handle it, you know, you're going to go through with it." She said, we're going to take you in." So I went, and of course went through there. A lot of work for me, and I had to, because I had a very bad math background, and I was an electronics major at Oswego, and I had to take calculus 1 and 2, and I did not have any background in math that would prepare me for that. So I talked to someone, and I said, I walked in the first day that I walked into this calculus 1 class, and the professor got up there and he said, "Okay," he said, "we're going to spend today and tomorrow covering linear equations." And he said, "That's it. Then we're going into quadratics." And I come back to Marge and I said, "What's this? I don't even know what he's talking about." And so someone said that the physician that was in charge of health at Oswego, her father was a retired electronic engineer, and he was tutoring students in math. And so I went to him, and he said, "Tell me your story." And so I did. And he said, "I consider this a challenge." He said, "But if you're serious about this, you're going to have to work like hell." He said, "Because you don't have a background that's going to get you through calculus 1 and 2. He said, "I consider this a challenge. I'm going to go with it." So I went, and I got a D in calculus 1. I got a C in calculus 2, and I got through it. And so I went, and I got through with Oswego almost with honors.
Nice.
At Oswego. And so in the process, my art teacher, or Dr. Stark at Oswego, and that's a long story, but he said to me, "I want you to go," he said, I would like you to come back, or I would like you to come here to teach sculpture in Oswego." He said, "But I can't hire you." But he said, "I want you to get a master's degree at Columbia University." And I said, "Dr. Stark," I said, "Are you crazy? Are you crazy?" I said, "I can't get into Columbia University." And he said, "Wait a minute." He said, "I'm good friends with the head of the art department at Columbia." And he said, "I want you to take the interview." And I said, "Doctor," I said, "I'm done with it. I don't want any more." And I left. He went to Marge, and he goes to talk to Marge. Marge comes to me, and she said, "I want you to do it. I want you to do it." So he set it up, and we did an interview with the head of the department at Columbia, and he said, we will take you as a non-matriculating student. And that was my start at Columbia.
But then you eventually matriculated.
Yeah. And I graduated from Columbia. And at this time, this was 1968, I don't know if you're familiar with it, what happened there at that time.
Yeah, I do. Well,
the students took over the administration building on Columbia University, and they held it for a week. And during that time, of course, the police are out all around the outside, and they're calling them all kinds of names and everything else. And this went on for a week. And I went in on a Saturday morning, and I had to go to Lowell Library. I had the paper I had to do at Lowell Library. And I went in there, and when I came out, I said, something's strange here. There were a whole batch of mounted policemen that came through the gate, mounted on horses. They closed the gates, and they went into the administration building. They started hauling those kids out, pulling by their hair, and they're screaming and they're running all over hell. And so I went out, and there are two lions out in front of the Lowell Library there on Columbia, and I sat down by the lion there, and this girl came out just screaming, and I grabbed her by the arm and I said, sit down. She sat down, and I said, just sit here. I said, don't do anything, just sit here. And they're going all over. The police are going on. We were just sitting there. I graduated from there. I went to Fort Lee, New Jersey, and they hired me, and I taught an electronics class in Fort Lee, and I stayed there until I said I had enough of standing in lines and fighting traffic. The superintendent, when he hired me, and that was the other thing, when he was looking for somebody, and he knew that I had graduated from Oswego, and he just hired me immediately. Yeah, the interview was so easy. And so I was teaching there, and no one knew this, and they were building a damn bomb down there, and something happened with the thing, and it went off, and it blew up pretty much a whole block in the village down there. And we went down, and everything was roped off. Marge and I went down. And that's what I did, and till I got to a point where I said, I want to get out of the city, and that's when we came up here.
Right. What year was that?
That was 1970. I moved out in 1970 and came up here.
Right, and this is Tyre.
Huh?
Tyre, New York.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, and you've been and then you got the job at the...
Minders Academy. And I went in there. I started teaching, I taught an electronics program there, I taught an automotive class there, and I taught there, and they made me department chairman. And when I became department chairman, I taught just electronics, and then they said, would you take over some art classes, because I had certification in art, and I had experience in art, so I did that too.
Were all your kids born here?
No, Dave was born in Rutherford, New Jersey, and he came up here. He had his first birthday here.
Ah, okay.
In 1970.
Right. Okay.
I was second or third in line when Khrushchev come off on the plane. So Eisenhower come up, and he walked up with each one of us, and he said, son, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm from, Wayland, New York. Oh, okay. and then he talked to us a few minutes, and then you go to the next one, and
You talked to Ike.
but he went
That's
right
really
down the
cool.
line.
He has a better story about Ike.
Yeah. But that was cool. You talked to Ike.
But see, this was at Andrews Air Force Base.
Okay. And where was that?
In Washington.
Okay.
Okay, Andrews is where the president's plane is.
Okay.
Okay, and this is where Khrushchev was coming in.
Okay.
And we're out there, of course, at this hour in the morning. And then after the Khrushchev arrival, okay, he gets off in the plane and he comes down through, and we had this whole cordon that he walks through. And then he gets into the motorcade with Eisenhower and the rest of them. And Andrews is 15 miles from Washington, from the capital.
Okay.
They had military cordon on both sides of the road, alternating with Army and Air Force and Marine Corps and Navy, all the way going into Washington on both sides of the street.
15 miles.
Yeah, for 15 miles. Wow. Okay, so when Khrushchev gets off, of course, they drive him out through, and he sees this cordon, both sides of that road, for 15 miles when he runs in.
Welcome to America.
But that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
And that's what the old guard was about.
Okay.
You know, when, we were kidding about things like, we had an incident in which the Queen came over here, okay? And she was going to lay a wreath at the tomb.
Oh, boy.
Okay, now we had to get together a cordon right away in a hurry. Okay, now we had experienced tomb guards and everything else, but they had to take some guys from the line company because we didn't have enough.
Yeah.
And so when the Queen comes up, and the motorcade comes up, and she walks down through, and every time when she goes by, we're all standing here like this at attention. As soon as she comes in front of you, you salute. And one of these, as she's going down through, one of these kids was just amazed, and he just stood there like this, and he's looking at her, and what she did is she turns and salutes him.
Oh, my
See,
God.
she's so familiar.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now that isn't the bad part about this. They took a picture of this, and it's in Reader's Digest.
So the kid not saluting and the Queen saluting him.
And
Your mother for the rest of your life. Remember when you did that?
it isn't what they had. When we got back, we had every official from the general to everybody else. They were just furious. They were furious
Don't
with
make a
this.
mistake.
And
The standard is perfection.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, over the door, the tomb guard quarters is the sign. The standard here is perfection.
Yes.
Okay.
Oops.
And
Yeah. You don't
I'll
I
quit
love the
now.
Queen.
I'll quit in a
loved her.
minute, but
So interesting.
going on with this nonsense. When John Foster Dulles died, okay, before he died, we knew he was coming to an end. So down in the catacombs, underneath the amphitheater out there, we're down practicing for the funeral, down underneath there.
Oh.
And somehow, one of the local newspapers in Washington, this guy got in there and took a picture of us practicing for his funeral before he died.
Oh my gosh.
And that's in the Washington paper. Well,
So sneaky, like that's so sneaky.
I can't tell you what that was like when they came over and they were furious. You know, as a,
You're just doing what you're told, like they should be
That's
yelling at
it,
somebody
you know.
else.
but
Where's
we
the top
were down
banana?
underneath, and
God,
they got a
that's
picture of
amazing.
us practicing for that.
What was Dulles? Was he a military man? I mean, I know
No,
that
he's
they
a
Secretary of State.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize that people who are younger and I didn't know.
I know that. All I know is the airport was named after
he
him.
has
That's
a-
why I was
he
asking.
He was
who-
Secretary of State.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the brother of Allen Dulles, who was the head of the CIA.
Okay.
And he was so well respected that he laid in state in the rotunda of the Capitol.
Yeah.
Okay, now they did a caisson from the Capitol out to Arlington.
Wow.
And this funeral was huge as they came out to Arlington. And I can't tell you what, it was so spectacular. But I got out before Kennedy. Kennedy went through the same thing
Okay.
when they buried him in
Yeah.
Arlington.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Don, what's the story of the chain?
The neighbor had it on his Jeep, and so I tried to convince him to give it up. He didn't. Oh, I'm not getting rid of my chain. That's
Yeah.
my toe chain. So I went out and bought a brand new chain. Because I couldn't use that. It wouldn't go with the sculpture.
No.
So I got him a brand new chain. And then I walked over to him and I said, Ardell, I said, can I trade you this chain for the one? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he took the chain, he didn't put it on the Jeep anymore. He took it in the house. And brand new chain. But I had what I wanted to do the sculpture. All right. Now, this particular pistol is not legal in this state for me to carry. It's legal for me to own it.
Okay.
I can't carry this thing.
Right.
This has a high capacity magazine.
Right.
And this particular model of pistol was the one that they used on the Long Island Railroad when this guy got on and started shooting people.
Yeah.
And this was the beginning of banning high capacity magazines.
Right.
This one will hold 19 rounds in there. You put 19 rounds in and you can just start shooting. But like I said, this is something that I can't carry. It's legal for me to own it, but not carry it.
Right.
And
But if somebody broke into the house, you could use it. Maybe. Don't know.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because a good lawyer, might get a hold of that.
Yeah.
And okay, he was doing something illegal. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put that round back in, and it's in the chamber. I'm going to drop the hammer. And okay. For me, and
okay.
that was one of my drawings.
Oh, okay.
The goose drawing.
Oh, yeah. And did you do that too, or someone else did?
Yeah, I did, I guess.
Oh, you did?
But that one of the bottom of the goose was mine.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, here's some more pictures. of
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Yeah.
So this was Wilhelmina's gallery where your sculpture ended up.
Where that is.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a sculpture in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great walk.
that was a drawing. And I did a whole batch of things on. I had gone up to MIT in the Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, and they had a robot in there that was out of control. And so I did a whole batch of drawings on on computer chips and stuff, and we were losing control of things.
Interesting, interesting.
But that was the whole idea of that one.
That's interesting. Okay, so here's some.
What's this here?
It's cutting and shaping parts with an oxyacetylene torch.
Okay,
So
yeah.
this is you beginning to work on the sculpture.
Yeah, those are pictures that Dave took.
Okay.
Me working on the
So
sculpture.
where did you build this? This was out here in the shop?
In the backyard.
In the backyard. Gotcha.
Yeah, there's some pictures here. Yeah, that was,
Yeah,
you know,
these
me
are cool. Good. Well,
welding.
great pictures, obviously, Dave. So they're great.
And he,
Aunt Marge made this book. That's nice.
yeah, well, we started out because we had to have some stuff, we had to show this whole.
Oh, sure. Documentation
Yeah.
of the process.
And so we went through with this. And, there's it laying down when I was welding on it.
Right. Sure.
These are a lot of repetition here,
Okay.
you know, welding and
Yeah.
again, laying out.
This is good though because you could really see the
Yeah.
figure there, and I like that picture there. Okay. Yeah.
Again, more of the same thing.
Yeah, cutting and fitting the
Yeah.
legs.
Yeah, that was when we were standing it up in the backyard. out
Yeah.
there.
So you had to build kind of an aperture or
Yeah,
something.
we had to get it so we can mount it. And
Right.
again, more of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the same things. Again, a lot of repetition.
Yeah, but you look at the Mylar suit he's got on. That's pretty neat. What was that made out of?
What's that?
The suit, the metal, protective suit you had
Oh
on.
yeah, that was a special suit that you get for welding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep the sparks off you, right?
yeah.
Yep. Oh, and there it is before it moved. Okay, so you can see that the United States
Yeah.
plaque is below it, which you really couldn't see in
Yeah,
situ. Cool.
yeah. Let's see what is in here. Again, repetition.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you've got pictures of those. Then we get into. Yeah. of course,
Okay, so this is the
gallery.
ad for the.
Yeah, and the sculpture. And now we start with all of this stuff from newspaper articles that were on the sculpture.
Zoning panel rules it's okay. I'm sure that took some doing. Get it.
Okay, I don't know what that is over there.
Local artist at Buffalo, so
Oh,
a turkey
okay.
raffle, not
More newspaper.
more complaints.
Yeah.
Owner will appeal sculpture rejection. Good for her. Good for Wilhelmina.
Again, more newspaper articles.
Right, but here's where they talk about the name of it,
Yeah, breaking free.
Breaking Free. But that's the second page, so let me get the first page. Okay.
And well, that was my teacher, Dr. Starko, was the sculpture. His
Yeah.
again. You
People
can see-
visiting the gallery, bikers visit the gallery.
Yeah,
Motorcycle gang.
That was women's bikers. They came out.
Oh wait, that's cool.
See my sculptures in the background. All the women bikers were on there.
Rochester's Ramblin' Roses Motorcycle Club riders, biking from the Susan B. Anthony House in Rochester to Wilhelmina's Art Gallery in Seneca Falls last Saturday to visit the Breaking Chains metal sculpture in their Ride for 100 Heroines fundraiser, posed before the Don Farenholz work on the gallery's front yard with proprietor Wilhelmina Pasmukans and National Women's Hall of Fame trustee Virginia DeJohn. That is very cool.
Why don't you say something about what led to the commission and, why you were asked to...
She wanted to do this thing.
Who is she?
Wilhelmina. She owned the gallery, and she kept pressuring me. I want a sculpture, and she wanted the sculpture for out in front. And so eventually I
Capitulated.
come up with something.
Yeah.
that was it.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Okay, here's Breaking Free Stays Put.
Yeah, that's important. It found a permanent home. The 10-foot-tall steel sculpture will remain on the lawn of a part-time residence and art gallery at 60 Cayuga Street, thanks to a 4-0 ruling last night by the village's zoning board of appeals. There you go. Let me get rid of the part at the bottom that talks about tail. If I can.
A stained glass piece that I did.
Beautiful.
And
Where did that go?
we sold it. I forgot where.
That's okay.
But,
Selling is fine.
this was a painting that I did. Geese, I guess.
Beautiful. It's
And,
a Canada goose.
Yeah.
One Canada goose.
Yeah.
We'll remember.
This
This is beautiful though.
this is one that I did. The male myth.
Oh, that's what this is out
That's-
there?
No, this one here, I sold to the woman, one of the women that taught with me.
Oh.
Down there. She wanted to buy this one,
Cool.
and that was male myth.
Nick might like to hear about this. Well, I'm just going to take a picture of it, but
Okay.
I'll read it to you. It just says male myth. From birth, young males are forced into a macho mold from which they live out their lives. And that's his sculpture called Male Myth.
Okay.
Oh, this one I
Yeah,
remember.
that one you remember.
Attack from above. I remember.
This is one that I did that was sold on. That was on Vietnam, I think.
Yeah. Remembering, it's Nam Remembered.
Yeah.
Remembering the name scrolled on the TV screen on the nightly news of those missing and dead in Vietnam left a lasting impression. And it's a man and a bird. Is it like trying to reach for freedom?
Yeah. Now this is another one. This one here.
Oh.
Toreador. I sold that to a couple from Spain,
Cool.
and when I got a letter from them, I don't know, that they wanted me to come over. They wanted me to come over to Spain,
Yeah,
but they bought the sculpture from me.
that's neat. So when did you do that piece?
Oh, God, when did I do it?
Yeah, just what decade even?
Oh, God.
Was this a college thing and then they happened to see it and they wanted it, or?
It's one I had it in a gallery downtown.
Okay, okay,
And they come by. They were taking a tour,
okay,
and they come by and they bought it,
okay.
and they took it back at the time.
Neat.
And
How big is it?
maybe it stands that time from
Off a table?
Table, yeah.
Tabletop, okay.
it. What happened was, of course, during the winter, they got in there and they chewed it up the clay, and they made a mess out of everything. And we just left her. We got to get out there and straighten it out.
These are the groundhogs.
Yeah. We've trapped two of them and have a hard trap. And took them out and let them go in the refuge. And we haven't seen another one around for a while, but as soon as I see one, I'll get a trap out of here. She stacks some junk in here. That's potter's wheel. I'll see if they can get a light on it. But yeah, I guess it's fine. Obviously, this is a Randall wheel, potter's wheel, and of course, this is what we call bisqueware. It's been fired once. It needs to be glazed and fired again. This is pottery. It's been thrown, and we threw it on the wheel here. Again, this is a Randall kick wheel. It was invented by Dr. Randall at Alfred, and this particular one, it's a kick wheel. You're supposed to kick it with one foot like this to get it going. I went over and I rigged up a a motor assist with this so that I didn't have to kick so hard to center. So you sit down. Now you can throw on the wheel.
Yeah.
This is a real, when I was at Columbia University, in the pottery studio, they had 30 of these side by side, Randall wheels. That's all they use in their pottery studio. You gotta watch this thing because it's rotating. You can get caught on it.
What about are those all glazes back there?
These are all chemicals
Chemicals for what?
that are used to make glazes.
To make glazes.
Yeah, there's some of them that you've got to be very careful of.
Right.
There's I could see a couple of them that if I could see them, I could show you that the chemicals you have to be very careful. There's cyanide out there, and
are these works in progress on your shelf over here?
yeah, these are all pots that I threw.
Yeah. Are they finished or somewhere in the middle?
This is what is called a bisque fire, and what it's done. This is greenware. The kids did this stuff. Okay, and this is called greenware. You pick that up and it'll break right away.
Yeah.
This has been fired to a low temperature, but it's quite solid. You glaze it, and then it goes to a glass firing, what they call a glaze firing, and then it's a finished piece of pottery.
And where do you fire it?
It kills out around the corner.
Oh, you have a kiln here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's all pottery there. This is a piece of greenware here. You have to be very careful of that. That hasn't been fired. It's thrown. This is just the way it comes off in the wheel, trimmed up, and it has to be fired or bisque fired. Over right behind you. Okay, this is a squeeze jog machine. This is a lot of what I used when I did these castings for Tony. Okay, and this is one of the flasks. There are several flasks out there that are stacked up that were used for casting these trains of his.
Okay.
And because this is basically a foundry here. Over in here, we got a lot of junk in the way here too.
Yeah, well.
Down in here, that box is driving me crazy. She wants to save it for some reason. Probably throw stuff away. Over there, that's all reloading equipment for ammunition.
Ah.
Okay. Over here is stuff. These are cases that are primed, cleaned, and ready to be loaded. But that's all loading equipment. This is what I was casting. This is the Burlington Zephyr. This is the only, I don't know, have you heard the history of this?
No.
Okay, this is...
Are we taking that in, right?
Yeah, you want to...
Yeah, why don't we go back?
Okay, we can do that and we'll get out of here. This is over here, this is the kiln. Over there is a furnace that's used for melting metals, okay? And those are flasks, all up through the flasks that are used for casting different parts on the train.
So what is a flask?
A flask holds the sand.
Holds the sand.
Okay, and these were done I know that you said when you were in school you did some loose pattern casting.
Yeah.
Okay, these are all done. You put the sand and you don't ram it like you did. Okay, you put it in that squeeze jog machine, you press the button, shoo, it packs it down. And then of course you've got to do all the work, but these weren't loose patterns, these were match plates, what we call match plates. And they were all on a wood plate. I don't know, you want to see a match plate?
All right, sure.
Okay, this is a match plate setup on here. I'll try to get around that. Let me push the trap out of the way. This is a match plate. Okay, this is a double pin flask. It comes up in that fashion. In the center is what we call a match plate. Whatever pattern you're going to do goes on this plate, both sides. And look at that. They even got in there.
Look at the woodchucks.
Yeah. That would go on there. This would go on the top. And of course, this comes across, and it has to, of course, the compressor has to be on. And you pull this, goes down, packs sand. And this is a double pin flask, so that you can draw it without. You had to have these. That's a very difficult pattern. In fact, one of the foundrymen at Gould said that he'd never seen a plate that difficult.
Yeah.
And so this is a double pin flask because you can draw it without going one way or the other. You come up, take it off with the sand set aside. And when you get all done, and it's all the sand is packed in there, you can release the mold in this way. And then you can pull the whole thing off in the pile of sand. So much. But anyway, then you would bring it out here, put it on the floor, we heat the metal, and pour the mold.
Right.
Out here. That's the kiln I use for ceramics. We got another one in the cellar that's never been fired that belongs to Phil. That's in there. All right, what did I do with the Zephyr?
Right there.
Oh, okay. Let's take it in now, and I can tell you a little bit about this.
Sounds good. Actually, you could really see it out here in the light. Why don't you?
Okay, then let me tell you a little about this.
Let's step back into the light.
Okay.
Get into the sun a little bit. You can really see it on the film.
All right. This was made by an outfit called Western Coil and Electric, and they went out of business in 1938. Obviously, because this thing was extremely difficult to cast. And Tony bought the company, match plates, everything in the company. And then he wanted me to cast him. And well, let me show you. This is we had checked into this, and this was the only completely cast train on the market. It was cast with a core for the center and the top. The two pieces went together, the motor in here, the train, and there were 3 cars to it. And they had little vestibules between them. The kids, I think, you probably talked to Joya, but Anthony and Joya and the kids, they did all of the vestibules that went between the cars. They folded them and they out of, I don't know what Tony used to make those vestibules. Probably Joya could tell you.
Right.
But it was extreme. This is a reject, but these details on this are extremely difficult. They once you try to pull that out of the sand, you can imagine what happens.
Right.
Okay. Take her in?
Yeah, and so what, I mean, originally, like, they were painted and
No,
they just,
there's even decals on this.
yeah.
That's the only thing that went on it. And he had a little light in the front,
Okay.
but it was motor down in here. And of course with the, whatever you call them, trains or whatever, the wheels, you know.
Right.
But it was made, and this was the Burlington Zephyr. And I think it'll run from Boston, I think, to Washington or something like that.
Right. The original.
Yeah. I don't know why they called it the Burlington Zephyr, but
Okay.
okay.
Okie dokie.
I don't know, but I'm sure you recognize it.
I do.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you because I believe that you all folded the vestibules.
Yes, we did.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He used to pay us by the piece, Dad.
Okay.
I think for $1.
Was it?
So they were pre-stamped. They were kind of a brick red piece of paper, the correct size, but it was such a complicated accordion pleat, and they came from each side and the middle,
Yeah.
and you would just sort of gently sort of ease it into place and then start creasing, and yeah, we would vestibules.
I don't we have any vestibules left, do we?
No, this was one of the rejects, but
Yeah,
you know,
the castings.
you've seen a lot of them.
Oh yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have.
Uncle Tony gave his godson a train, a complete train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think both of the boys, because I think
No.
just Phil.
No, just
Just Phil.
Just Dave. No, just Dave. Dave
Dave.
was his godson.
Okay.
Dave got that because what he was Dave's godfather.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he gave that to Dave, and Dave has a complete set.
Yeah.
Including the box, the original
Yeah.
box.
Okay, you know, the one that had Western coil and electric on it.
Yeah.
And
So who was selling these?
My dad.
Your dad was selling these.
Yeah. He was obsessed with trains. He
Yeah.
One Christmas in the 70s, he came home with a plastic electric train set and said, I always wanted a train when I was growing up, and they grew up in the Depression, didn't have money, and didn't have any trains, and that went around the tree for a while. And then he found out that there were Lionel trains and collectors, and he got really involved in buying pre-World War II trains, and he especially liked the streamlined trains like this one, the Burlington Zephyr. And I'm pretty sure that if you watch that movie, A League of Their Own, with the women baseball team, that the train that the girls get in out in the West, Washington State or something like that, it's the Zephyr because it has the observation car in the back. And I'm
okay.
pretty sure it was the Zephyr, but he was gone by the time I thought about it
Yeah.
and wanted to mention it to him. But
Well,
Yeah.
the other one
I have a Yankee Flyer, I'm pretty sure. Everybody's got something. All of us have something.
the other thing that I wanted to mention was that I didn't cast these.
Uh-huh.
He got a hold of somebody down in Jersey, and they cast 2 sets in bronze.
Oh, God.
And he went out to California to one of these train meets, and Frank Sinatra bought those 2 that were in bronze or brass. I forgot what it was cast.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't cast those.
Yeah.
I had enough trouble with aluminum.
Dad was very pushy too, so I'm sure Uncle Don was quite talked into doing something you'd
Oh,
never
yeah.
bothered to do.
If
Yeah,
you didn't
I
like it, you couldn't move him.
Who?
Done. If
Yeah.
he doesn't like it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but we also knew how Dad was, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, he loved it. But he would make money at these train meets. He'd go to York, Pennsylvania, and come back with, thousands of dollars in his pocket from selling
Wow.
the things that he had.
I never saw any of it.
Yeah, yeah. But it wasn't over the Zephyrs. It was like his other collecting and buying and
Yeah, he
selling.
was collecting.
He just
But,
needed to be kept busy. He was, he was
Yeah.
like a shepherd.
But
And Mom, it worked fine for Mom.
Yeah.
It worked fine for Mom to get him out of her hair. But yeah, he made sure we all had sets. I still have mine. It's in the attic. I've had.
oh, you have one?
Not a Zephyr. I have a Yankee Flyer of some
Oh,
of
okay.
some era, and it's all from his correct, pre-war stuff. So
Yeah.
I definitely have one, and I used
Oh,
to
you-
put it out at Christmas.
You had a lot of stuff left. I remember in that room it was just trays